I think this is hilarious. I really do. Not because it's surprising, not because it's like, oh wow, that came out of nowhere and it's funny. Nah, I think this is genuinely like the silliest timeline that we can see for Vancouver Canucks fans watching the coaching search that's going on in the NHL right now. Because with Rick Tocchet leaving Vancouver, a big ensuing talk has been brought up over the past few days by folks on the radio and on TV, all saying similar things. That Rick Tocchet, former Vancouver Canucks head coach, is a highly coveted head coach. Frank Seravalli, I think, is the guy who pumps his tires the most, saying things like, yeah, a lot of teams will be going out there and wanting to hire Rick Tocchet. Right around the time April was rolling around, Seravalli was saying, hey, there will probably be 20-plus teams that would want Rick Tocchet as their head coach, and some teams might even fire their own head coach to try to go after Tocchet to see if he's available. There's a lot of demand for this guy. And many folks would go out there and just ask, like, okay, why is Rick Tocchet so highly coveted? Why is his profile this prestigious? I mean, the way that some of these analysts, and Frank Seravalli especially, the way they talk about Rick Tocchet, you would think that this is Stan Bowman we're talking about. And while it is true that Tocchet did have a very high win percentage with the Canucks, a lot of that was skewed because of the 23-24 season that he had last year, where everything went right, and the Canucks were winning so many games, and everything they shot towards the goal was going in, and Tocchet won the Jack Adams. I'm not going to take that away from him, but I do kind of question, because Rick Tocchet had one good season in Vancouver out of 2.5 pretty much. This previously completed season was not great. In Arizona, I think he made the playoffs once out of 4 years. Rick Tocchet, in the entirety of his NHL coaching career, has coached 638 games with 286 wins, 265 losses, and 87 overtime losses, with 2 playoff appearances in however many years this is. It's not great, his entire body of work and the records he has had, but that's the thing. Folks would go out there and talk about his run-and-gun style, Rick Tocchet hockey, his emphasis on defensive pressure and back-checking, and his north-south gameplay. A lot of folks around the NHL seem to value that style, and the reputation is that Rick Tocchet is one of the best in the business at executing that style. Which is why, when you look at the latest scoop published by James Murphy on RG.org, Rick Tocchet emerging as the top Bruins target for head coach really does make sense. He's a really Boston-type guy, this article says. It'll be linked in the description, but this is what a source told RG on Wednesday night. If the Bruins can secure an interview with Tocchet, and yeah, they're trying, he becomes their top target. Tocchet will be reuniting with his TNT teammates this weekend, and there has been chatter that he could be making a stop in Boston before or after his trip to the TNT studio in Atlanta. On Wednesday, longtime Vancouver radio host and reporter Rick Dhaliwal hinted that the Bruins are or will be pursuing Tocchet as a coaching candidate. The 3-time Stanley Cup champion, 1 as a player and 2 as an assistant coach with the Penguins, played for the Bruins in parts of the 95-96 and 96-97 seasons. Boston is a club. I've been saying about Boston, keep an eye on the Bruins, Dhaliwal said on his radio show with Don Taylor, Donnie and Dolly on Wednesday. I will be surprised if the Bruins don't contact Tocchet. He's a really Boston-type guy. Cam Neely, Rick Tocchet, they played the same game. Power forward. And so now, thinking about the Bruins pushing for a guy like Rick Tocchet, I do get so intrigued as to what this could be. Let's just assume that Tocchet goes to Boston. He interviewed with Anaheim. He was one of the finalists over there before they ultimately went with Quenneville. Yeah, what a ridiculous hire that was. But Rick Tocchet in Boston with Elias Lindholm as his first-line center and Nikita Zadorov as his undisciplined brute on the blue line. I'm thinking about it like this, dude, the 23-24 Canucks are just reuniting in Boston. This is like that Calgary Canucks meme from all those years ago, when Markstrom, Tanev, Toffoli, all these guys went from Vancouver to Calgary. Okay, Toffoli had a pit stop in Montreal for a few years before then, but still. Now you're looking at Rick Tocchet going over to Boston to join Lindholm and Zadorov, who have both been struggling in their own rights, by the way. Not to say that it's impossible that the Boston Bruins bounce back, that Rick Tocchet has a winning coach as a head coach in the NHL one more time. None of that is impossible. But I do kind of question, Elias Lindholm did play really decent to good hockey under Rick Tocchet in Vancouver as a third-line center, mind you. Penalty kill, scored some clutch overtime goals, was a really versatile force, and Nikita Zadorov also played with a really snarky edge and scored some huge goals in the playoffs last year under Rick Tocchet. I do wonder if there is a potential shot that all three of these individuals, Lindholm, Zadorov, and Tocchet, can revive each other's careers in a positive way, all together with the Boston Bruins. It's possible, but I don't want to say it's, guaranteed. You know what I think is also possible, though? That the Boston Bruins stink next year. They don't learn from what they had accomplished this season. Their guys don't get significantly better. They go from a team of winners, even without Krejci and Bergeron. They have a season that is so good where they're playing Bruins-styled hockey with Marchand as the captain, and then they go from that to a season where things just aren't going their way. David Pastrnak cannot will wins into existence from his own hand. The goaltending doesn't step up. Jeremy Swayman, total bum. I can totally see a world where Rick Tocchet goes over to the Bruins, gets a 4-5-year contract, and he's not able to bring that team back out of the grave. There is a possibility that it goes both ways. If the style works, if Zadorov and Lindholm find their game again, and Tocchet is a winning coach again, then everybody's happy in Boston. Yay, woohoo, shipping up to Boston. But if it doesn't work, if Rick Tocchet and the coaching style that he's been so adamantly displaying continues to have a negative record like it has had his entire coaching career, spare one season, then I also do think that's a possibility too. It's kind of funny because I did see some internet people going out there and asking hey, I've been asking Canucks fans, what is it about Tocchet that makes him so good, so special? Why was everybody so hyped up about him? But a lot of Canucks fans won't go out there and immediately defend him, saying, oh yeah, he's an amazing coach, he's this, he's that. It's a lot of the fan base that watched the games this season, they're like, yeah, okay, this is a guy who potentially kills offensive creativity out of the most creative guys, and he tries to reprogram them in a way that is potentially damaging to the way they're able to create offense, and they play a style that's so straightforward and straight-lined, and it's low shot, it's low event. Defensively, it's fine, but, you need to score goals to win hockey games, and the Canucks just don't do that when they're playing under Rick Tocchet, at least this previous season. Last year, it's not like they were shooting a ton more last season in 23-24. Everything was just coincidentally going in. So PDO benders be damned, Rick Tocchet hasn't necessarily been a coach in Arizona, Tampa Bay, or Vancouver that seems to focus a lot on offense. And in a Vancouver system where Elias Pettersson and Quinn Hughes are supposed to dominate offensively, and for the most part only one of those guys was, that's where you get into the nitty-gritty as to why fans are disappointed with Tocchet's tenure in Vancouver. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Tocchet being a lead candidate for the Bruins, and do you think he could revive Elias Lindholm and Nikita Zadorov? A Vancouver reunion over in Boston, baby. Thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.